European Union. Let me begin by saying.
Recording in progress.
Let me begin by saying BIAFRA exists. BIAFRA exists. When I analyze, it's important to recognize the obvious. It's willful blindness to embrace some of the excuses which the West uses to avoid discussing the autonomy, the freedom, the liberty, and the independence of Biafra. It is not climate change, but deliberate murder. Climate change doesn't hire Fulani gangs to rape and murder in Biafra. The authorities in Abuja do. And we need to recognize that reality. Too often, the State Department, the European Union, the African Union defer to the powerful against the weak. But that's not how human rights work. When it comes to the abuses of the Nigerian government, they must be held to account. When Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of Nigeria and a war criminal from the days of the first Biafra genocide, he took Nigeria off the State Department's religious freedom watch list. The United States and all other countries must calibrate our policies towards the reality of the way things are, rather than the way we wish things would be. The fact of the matter is, on any watch list for religious freedom, Nigeria should be on its blacklist. It should be its worst tier, because reality cannot be ignored, nor should human rights of all those in Biafra be swept under the bus. Frankly, if Nigeria spent as much energy hunting the perpetrators of violence against the Igbo as they do pressuring Finland to punish the free speech of Biafra's leaders, Nigeria would be a much better place. Unfortunately, rather than reform, rather than embrace liberty, rather than embrace self-determination, Nigeria seems to embrace transnational repression. And that is why all Biafra activists in Finland should be free. Now, a lot of people will look at Biafra and say, we've never heard of Biafra. That reflects their ignorance and their ignorance of history rather than the necessary reality. But then you will have some naysayers who will say, why are you declaring independence, redeclaring independence in Finland rather than in Biafra itself? And again, that reflects an ignorance of history for those who might criticize. After all, Czechoslovakia declared its independence in Washington, D.C., right near where I sit now. And no one suggested that the Czechs and the Slovaks didn't deserve their freedom. The fact of the matter is, when one faces a lethal threat and lethal repression, you need to assert your freedom wherever you may be, but that doesn't forfeit your rights to your homeland. So, when it comes to Biafra, what I see is everything being done right. Let me put it this way. Again, I say this as an academic. I've been to many places around the world in which people desire their freedom. I've been to Iraqi Kurdistan, Turkish Kurdistan, and Syrian Kurdistan. And I've written a book where, while I empathize with the Kurds, they are not yet ready for independence because they have not taken the basic steps to form a unitary government that can step into the vacuum on day one and lead their people. That is something that the Biafrans have, a mistake the Biafrans have not made. What I see today with the organization of the Biafrans has been absolutely and completely admirable. You are not simply symbolically declaring independence. You are setting in motion a government which can take over all functions of the government. Now, some people may complain that Biafra now has its own army, and they may say that is a terrorist action. They are wrong. It is the job of any government to monopolize the use of force within its territory. The Nigerian army is the occupying army right now. Its job is not to monopolize the use of force within Biafra, because they have shown when they use force, they use it not for security, but to perpetrate insecurity. They use it to murder, they use it to rape, they use it to charter buses, to bring in militias, so that people, naive people, may believe that they have nothing to do with what is going on in the region. Now, I'm a historian by training, which means I get paid to predict the past. Also, speaking of pay, let me be clear. I am receiving nothing for my advocacy for Biafra. I have been offered nothing. I have demanded nothing, and I am receiving nothing. Nor would it even be legal for me to accept money from anyone. I am speaking only as an analyst and only as someone who wants to further liberty. Now, I ask as a historian, where has it worked to force the victims of genocide together with their perpetrators? Where in history has that ever worked? Aggressors must understand that if they turn to genocide, they will always lose. The fact of the matter is, Nigeria lost Biafra in 1967. They may have won the war temporarily, but they permanently lost Biafra. The decisions they made 57 years ago forfeited any rights they have to control, to occupy, to speak on behalf of the people of Biafra. Let me conclude by saying, as an analyst again, I don't think the United States will be the first country to recognize Biafra. But I pray that it won't be the third country either. Biafra to move from Finland and to lobby vociferously night and day in order to ensure that the African Union recognizes that Biafra is already more organized, already more capable of statehood, already will have a higher standard of living, already will be at peace with itself and its neighbors more than many other African countries. And therefore, it will be a boon to Africa, a boon to the African Union, a boon to the spread of democracy in the region, an anchor for stability in the region, in an area that is increasingly unstable, especially as people come from the north in order to destabilize. So let me conclude by saying with my very short remarks that I wish I could be with you there today. Family prevented me from coming, but I admire what you're doing, I follow what you're doing, and I pray for what you're doing. Long live Biafra.